But for now, we're just going to get into setting up a rig using the layout tab. So you can either start from a brand new scene, so we could either get rid of this layout and start a new one, or you can add to an existing layout. So since we already have this rig, if I wanted to add, let's say, an FK chain to manipulate these guys, for example. To add a part, you can go either to the Create tab and find your parts. There are parts and there are templates. Templates are a collection of rig parts. So this layout file can be saved out as a template, and then it'll come back in and build all of these rig parts with all of those options for you again. So it's essentially turning a layout file into a scripted preset build. Parts are individual parts like fingers, tails, feet, biped legs, biped arms, shoulders, neck, and so on. So you can also, aside from going through the Create tab, you can hit Tab. If you hit Tab, you get this search field, and you can just start typing FK chain, or you can go through this little arrow and you'll get the entire menu. So everything is organized into categories, so biped, bird, common, creature, and so on. FK chains will live in common. So when you select what you're going to build, when we select the new FK chain, you want to set some options first before you build it. You can always modify all of these options after it's been built, but it's easier to just do it before it builds. So this is going to require a name called my chain. You can change it, and let's call it tail fin. Set your parent. So in this case, I want my parent to be we want the cog joint, which is hidden in there. So you select your cog joint and you hit this little get button. It will convert all of your placers to J and T. You specify your number of joints. You can choose whether you want it aim constraint or matrix constraint, which is basically a parent constraint. So either the joint will aim down the bone to the next control with aim constraint, or it'll just behave like each joint is parent constraint to the control. I prefer this method. It offers better scaling, specifically non-uniform scaling. You can create spaces and you can make it dynamic. So I'm going to build my new part, and it shows up down here. You can double click in the parts list and it will highlight that group node for you, like the top rig part group. So then you go ahead and place it however you want. So you can place it, you can scale it. You can grab, so if you notice when I'm grabbing my joints, everything says PLC here as a suffix. That's because you're grabbing joint placers. The placers are used in the layout mode just so that you can easily grab and select and drag around your joints, and the actual joints are referenced and you won't be able to select those. So this makes sure that everything is oriented, nice, and the way it should be so that things don't break when you go to your rig build. So you place your joints. If you wanted to do something like this, don't know why, but you could do that. Then you can go in and fit your controls. I'm going to undo that. Then you go in and fit your controls. So I'm happy with that. And you can right click and say mirror part. So under modify, you'll have mirror part, duplicate parts, rebuild parts, which Changing certain options will require you to rebuild the part, but you'll be prompted to do so. But you can duplicate a part. Let's say I wanted to have LB tail fin. You say duplicate, and now I have a second part with the LB suffix or prefix. I'm going to delete this guy because I don't want him in there. And what I do want to do is mirror the part. Once I'm happy with my part being placed, I recommend working from left to right. So build all of your left-sided parts and then mirror them to the right side. You can mirror a single part at a time, or you can mirror all the parts and it will only mirror what is left and right. So you can grab all of your left-sided parts and mirror those all at once if you wanted to. So now we have our tail fins. So from here, you can always go in and change any of these options as you want. When you go to change something, like let's say I wanted this parent to be the cog, you'll have this button show up where it says update build options. If you change something in the fields here, you have to click update build options. Otherwise, that setting will just be erased. Certain things like number of joints. Let's say I want to change the number of joints to 4 joints. When I update the build options, I'm going to get a warning that says updating options requires rebuild. So that means you have to rebuild the rig part to add in the extra joint. You can say yes, and then you get your extra joint in here. And if you mirror that again to the right side, if you mirror that again to the right side, you're going to want to mirror the part again, and it'll rebuild that right-sided part with the new number of joints. So from there, you can save your layout. When you save your layout, you'll get a printout down here where it's saved to. It's automatically versioned up, and this layout file will be automatically picked up by the build. So some other things that you have are in this menu that you can that you have access to. So to clean your model, it'll launch you the model checker. Now, like I said, this is a standalone tool, so you have to make sure that that's installed. You can save your new model, clean your model. Save model only applies if you're working at home. If you're in the office environment, you have to go through your pipelines, publishing tools to do this. Load model, load layout, save as a template. If you save as a template, like I said before, it's almost the same as saving a layout, only it saves a script version instead of a Maya file. So you can rebuild templates later on by going to the template section over here. Like right now, I have a generic biped, hip helpers, clavicle helpers, and those were all built. Those templates were all generated based off of an existing rig that I built previously. So in the Create tab is where you get your templates and rig parts. Modify lets you mirror parts, and you can mirror parts if you hit the option box. You can mirror parts in different axes. So you can mirror from X across the X axis, Y and Z, and you can mirror control shapes and control colors, or you can keep the default colors. When you go to duplicate a part, you have to select something first. If you go to duplicate a part, it will ask you for a new side and a new name. You can change one or either of these, but you have to change something because it needs a unique name. Then you can just delete parts. Select them in the field in the list and say delete. Then view. So you have a way of, let's say I want to hide the visibility on everything except for my new tail fin parts that I built. You can select something in here and also right click and say unhide all parts and so on. That's the view. It's just different visibilities. You can hide all, you can select everything and hide all the joints. You can hide all the controls. And then let's say I only want to look at joints and place joints. You can do that. And then when you're ready to, you can say, show me my controls. Then for develop, this is more if you are writing a new part for the system. So quick build is just some little like debug and test functions. So quick build will quickly build your rig. It'll quickly rebuild all of your rigs, but it won't complete the build. So things will remain unparented to each other. The rig isn't quite final yet. So then you have create a new part module, which will create some boilerplate code for you, and then you can open that up with PyCharm or whatever editor you want to use, and then reload your parts library. And that's pretty much here. You can refresh your parts list in case you, if you deleted something. I'm gonna load my layout one more time. So if you delete a layout part, you can just delete it from the outliner, but then you'll have to refresh the parts list to get it to update the UI. What else? This button here will let you open up the code in your text editor of choice, so you can easily access the code if you wanted to. I use PyCharm. And there's also a filter. So if I wanted to only see left-sided parts, it's based on name. So if I only wanted to see my tails or my rotors, and you can hit the X and everything unfilters. And that's basically it for the layout tab.